Okay, so this is these are some things that these are 10 things that it's being said, it's being rumored that Bethesda is going to be um, showing off Elder Scrolls 6. So with that being said, I'm just going to talk about what they would have to do if they're going to do an Elder Scrolls 6, because let's keep it real, Bethesda has some work to do in regards to their games, especially their Elder Scrolls series. So without much ado, we'll go from 10 to 1 after the cut. So here we are with basically what I feel that really needs to be done with the Elder Scrolls series. If they're doing an Elder Scrolls 6, here's what I'd really like to see done in order to make it more, what's the word I'm looking for, palatable as a title. So, number 10 is bring back role-playing. This is fairly self-explanatory. We desperately need, frankly speaking, we desperately need role-playing to be brought back into the Elder Scrolls games. I know what some people are going to say. They're going to say, well, what do you mean? You know what I mean, okay? The thing about Skyrim that kind of sucked was that essentially, whether you wanted to or not, at the end of the game, once you got down to everything, you basically only had 2 or 3 builds that were viable for in-game. A melee character who could use a little bit of magic, a stealth character who could also melee and use a little bit of magic, or an enchanter that could also melee and use a little bit of magic. Like, basically, if you decided to go purely into a persuasion build, or a thief build, or a magic build, the end game just was not for you. And it's like, what? That kind of sucks. And also, it kind of took you out of the role-playing aspect. And that wasn't a good thing. So, I think they really should bring back role-playing. The next one after the cut. So here's number 9. And it has to be said. Character creation that actually matters. Now, I know role-playing, but, and this kind of is related to role-playing, but it's different. At the end of the day, in Skyrim, the last Elder Scrolls game we had, your character creation, like, there was almost no visible difference between races. So if you were an orc, basically you could do essentially the same shit. You could be a dynamite magic user. You could be, if you were a Bosmer, you could be a Juggernaut who wore heavy armor. And it's like, that doesn't make sense. Like, if you're gonna do this stuff, you need to really do shit. Like, if I'm playing as certain characters, like, their racial qualities should go in. So if I'm an Argonian, like, there should be certain issues with that. If I'm a Khajiit, there should be certain things about that. Like, if you play as an orc, people should treat you like they treat orcs. Like, oh shit, these people, these refugees, these warmongers, like, these things should be a core tenet of what's going on. And they don't do that. Basically, at the end of the day, it's all basically the same shit over and over and over again. Like, wouldn't it be awesome when you played an Elder Scrolls game if you played as, say, an Imperial, right? And you were in an area with a lot of myrrh. They might not like you, there might be some, some tension there. How they treat your character. Like, that would be awesome. Would they do it? I don't know, but I would love for it to be there. So, with that being said, number 8 will be After the Cut. I already said this earlier, but number 8 is every build should be able to get to the end game and have meaningful progression. What I mean by this is that there needs to be a serious overhaul to the classes in the game, because we don't have that in Elder Scrolls. We really don't. Like in Skyrim, basically, if you played as an alchemist, like if you focused strictly on alchemy, you were fucked. Because there were entire other things that you couldn't do if you focused on alchemy, and that sucks because every class should basically be viable. So if let's say hypothetically speaking, the next Elder Scrolls game, like if I play as an alchemist, I should be able to, make acid flasks or dragon's breath potion flasks and throw that at people and light them on fire, or hit them with corrosive acid or some shit. Like, every class should be able to, every single build should be able to get to the end game and feel like they're a badass, right? You don't get that in Elder Scrolls. Certain builds work, certain builds kind of suck. And, I know what some people say, well, the challenge, look, every class should have a challenge, but, if I want to play as a smooth-talking, persuasive, charismatic son of a bitch who maybe I can't fight, but I can talk this army of soldiers into being really inspired to fight for me, and they kick your ass, and I don't ever have to lift a sword. That would be more badass to me than just strictly all the time playing as this dude running around slashing and dicing people. But that would require a lot of work from Bethesda, and I don't know if they'd be willing to do it. So, without much ado, here's number 7. Oh, snap. So here we go with the next thing, which is basically character choices that affect the game in meaningful ways. This is one of the things that's always kind of bothered me in Elder Scrolls games, is that your choices, well, actually I shouldn't take that. I take that back. In Elder Scrolls Oblivion, your choices actually did affect the overall gaming world in 4 and 3 Morrowind, but it kind of was thrown by the wayside by in Skyrim, and it sucks because that's one of the hallmarks of an RPG. Your choices should affect the gaming world. For example, and I'm going to use a JRPG. In Chrono Trigger, things that you do or don't do affect the gaming world. So, one of the minor side quests in the game is in southern Pore, there's this mayor whose kids hate him because all he is like, he's obsessed with money. And his kids are like, oh, fuck you, Dad. And if you go back in time, you can give his ancestors some food when they're starving and the war is like going on. And if you do that, what winds up happening is that they grow up to the guy becomes really, really generous with his money, and his family actually becomes bad at generous, and his kids love him and everything like that. It's a minor thing, but your choices actually affected that family and what goes on. Now, of course, at the end of it, you get all these really neat, awesomely badass, you get some magic tabs, if I remember correctly. But, your choices affected that. Now, you could entirely skip that quest and he continues to be this rich asshole who, if you go to him, he'll give you 10 G's to act like a chicken. Which is kind of weird. But you get what I'm saying? You don't get that in Skyrim. Like, literally, there's virtually no difference in how things act, except for some clothes changes and some character changes. Like, the world changes the changes to the world are very minuscule, depending on the choices you make, and it sucks. Okay, it really, really sucks, and I think they need to really overhaul that. So, and the way I think they could really do it is by essentially making your character choices dynamically affect the world. So if I decide to save a town from bandits, right? You get your typical rewards. Oh, they're going to help you more often. You get reduced prices, whatever. But if I don't decide to save that town, you know what happens? These people the town gets taken over by bandits. It becomes a bandit town. And the people who are still there live in fear. The people who don't live there, ran away or were murdered, whatever. Like that, my choices actually affected it, and that would really, really help make those games better, in my opinion. So, we'll move on to number 6 after the cut. Have you ever noticed how in Elder Scrolls V, in the beginning of the game, your magic spells seem to be relatively powerful, but by the end, they're just kind of a waste of time? Like, it's faster to defeat enemies. You just run up and hit them with your sword a few times, or your bow and arrow or something. Magic should feel magical in an RPG, in a fantasy RPG. You should feel badass. Like, if I focus on destructive magic or enchanting or illusion or summoning, by the end game, I should feel like just destruction in a robe. And you don't really get that in Elder Scrolls. Like, by the end game, it's like, whatever, whatever. And that kind of sucks. Like, if I'm playing this type of game, shit needs to be, badass. If I'm specializing in magic, I need to feel like a badass the entire time. Not just in the mid game. And one of the things I noticed in Skyrim is that once you get to around level 30, your magic starts to feel, how should I put this? Not very impactful, if you get what I'm saying. Dare I say, boring as fuck, if you will. And how should I put this? About as effective as throwing a loofah at a professional assassin. Like, this isn't really doing jack shit. Like, I basically, at one point in Elder Scrolls 6, had maxed out everything. Like, I had maxed out my destruction, my mysticism, everything. And literally, I hit a high-level enemy with my most powerful lightning spell, and it did fucking jack. Like, it took like maybe 10% of their health down, and then my magic was gone. Like, that's the type of shit we have to deal with. And that, you're trying to make a game where your character, the whole thing about a game is that you want to empower the character, and yet even basic shit just feels lazy. And that's not cool. So, with that being said, let's move on to number 5 after the cut. The main plot in Elder Scrolls games are kind of meh. Like, the side shit is more badass than the main shit. And that's just not cool, in my opinion. Like, that's like someone saying, well, Chrono Trigger, Man, fuck the main story. I like that Aussie Flea and Slash thing. I mean, yeah, side missions are cool, but generally speaking, when you play an RPG, you want everything to be badass, not just the single player, but not just the main story. But that's not the case in Elder Scrolls these days. Like the last Elder Scrolls game that I played where the main story was just as interesting as the side story was Morrowind. Because Oblivion, the main story should have been interesting, but it was garbage. The side missions were more interesting. The Fighters Guild, the fight against Manamarco, the King of Worms, the Necromancers, the Thieves Guild quest, the Assassins Guild quest. Like, when your side missions are more interesting than your main story, there's a problem. And that's what's been going on with the Elder Scrolls series, which sucks. But, I mean, how could they make that better? They could make the stories more interesting and more impactful. What I mean by this is you should have a feeling of investment in what's going on and not, like, I'm sorry, the Dragonborn story is so goddamn, it's so MacGuffinish. You're the chosen one, and that's why you should care. Well, whatever. It just wasn't very well done, and that kind of wasn't that kind of brought it down. Which, I mean, let's go to the next point, number 4. After. So, as the placard says, the combat in Elder Scrolls games went from being abysmal to kind of oversimplified. And I think that now we have games where combat is a bit more, how can I put this? It's a bit more enhanced. Combat in Elder Scrolls as it is right now needs to become more skill based, less spam based. If you played Skyrim, you basically just ran up to someone and you spammed your attacks as much as you could and had a really powerful weapon equipped, and then you killed your enemies. And it was lazy and kind of annoying and, frankly speaking, just a little on the bad side. Not to say the game wasn't fun, but combat just did not feel organic or skill based. It was like, oh, okay, let me just equip my best weapon, run up and slash this dude 5 or 6 times, power attack 3 or 4 times, and kill him. I've done plenty of videos where I've talked about, where I've shown Elder Scrolls Skyrim, me doing that, and it was lazy. It was goddamn lazy. But I do think that they could kind of revamp that by maybe having a game that had, maybe they switch things up by maybe doing a game where combat is more skill based. And I mean, the best example that I could give of this is maybe something like The Witcher or The Surge. That would be awesome in my opinion. Or maybe not, I don't know. But, that's just my opinion. So, with that, let's move on to number 3. Number 3 is one that bears repeating, so I did it 3 times. Polish, polish, polish. Bethesda games have major polish issues. And it's sad because, I mean, I like Bethesda games, but they desperately need to be polished. And thank God we finally get some, they claim that they're starting to polish things up, but with Prey coming out and as broken as it was, and that other game that came out was broken as it was, Dishonored 2, clearly they haven't learned their lesson. And it's sad because I like Bethesda games, but you have to remember, I'm an old hand at playing Bethesda games. I'm talking like, you know, I was playing fucking, um, Elder Scrolls, 1, 2, Arena, Daggerfall. Like, I was playing these games back in the day, you know what I mean? And they were broken pieces of shit then too. So, I mean, I wish I could believe Bethesda, but I can't because it's total and complete horseshit. So, my thing is this: Bethesda needs to start polishing their games up more. They need to have a smoother gaming experience, desperately so. And I think the way they could do this is maybe going with an engine that's more, how should I put this kindly, that's friendlier to what they want to be able to do. Because really the issues with Bethesda is that the engine that they use, the Snowfall engine, which is just it's a build, like they're like, we built a new engine. No, you're basically, you took the Gamebryo engine, which you got from Obsidian, before they were Obsidian, when they were still Interplay, when they sold off their Fallout game, and that's the engine you've been using for years now, and it sucks. Okay, I'm sorry, but the Gamebryo / Snowfall engine sucks. Okay. Fallout 4 is, the game is far more polished than Skyrim, but it's still not very good, okay? And I'm tired of people, oh no, it's ass, okay? It's ass. They need to do better, okay? Which leads to number 2, which we'll get to after the... So, number 2 is just unified gameplay. One of the major issues of the Elder Scrolls franchise is there really isn't unified gameplay. Like, and this is just my own personal opinion, but if I'm playing the game and I am a badass, kick-ass, if I'm the leader of the Thieves Guild, wouldn't it make sense that I should be able to order members of the Thieves Guild to do some shit for me? And yet you can't. You can't do that in Elder Scrolls. It boggles the mind. Or if I'm a member of the Mages Guild, I should be able to get the Mages Guild to help me out in the Civil War thing. You should be able to do that in the next Skyrim. Like your bennies that you get from from the big side quests that you do should basically have bearing on the end product. And, they don't do that. So the final, number 1, after the... Okay, we're on to the last bit of this video, number 1. I know what some people are going to say. Oh my god, how dare you? They don't need a new engine, they just need to code better. Look, the Gamebryo engine is old. The Snowfall engine is just putting new paint on an old ass house, but that doesn't change the underlying problems with the old ass house. So with that being said, here's my idea. They need a new engine, a brand new engine, okay, that will let them be able to do things that we have not seen before. Have you ever noticed how in Elder Scrolls games, like, you basically can't do anything except for, basic shit. Like, you're lucky you can kinda, sorta, a little bit, you can kinda, sorta, a little bit fucking, you can ride a horse, but very badly. Like, I've actually been on horseback, And if Elder Scrolls is anything like real horseback, oh my God, you are a terrible horseman. You're a terrible equestrian if that's how you ride a horse. But I think they could do a lot better, in my opinion. And the reason I think they could do a lot better is because, frankly speaking, horseback riding in Elder Scrolls is ass. It's bad. I mean, look how in the Dragonborn DLC you can ride dragons, but you're not really riding a dragon. Your character animates getting on a dragon, and the dragon flies around like it normally would, and you can kind of sort of tell it where to go, but not really. I mean, it's half-assed. It's lackluster, and I think with a more basic engine like Unreal or CryEngine, you might be able to get a game that's done a little bit better. Frankly speaking, I don't care about graphics. I know people are always like, man, these graphics. Look, the graphics in Elder Scrolls games, even in Oblivion, were serviceable. I mean, the facial animations were bad, but I mean, they got the job done. I want better AI. I want artificial intelligence in a game that actually feels more organic. I want the AI to be more visceral. I want characters to essentially, I want villains to fight smart. I want them to, I want bandits to flank. I want characters to run for fucking cover. I want I want enemies who basically say, I give up, I quit fighting. I want them to literally quit fighting. I want them to be like, shit, you kicked my ass, man. You just killed there were 12 of us, you just killed 11 of us. I give up, man. Fuck it. I'm done. I want combat to feel more visceral, and I want there to be more realistic reaction to bad guys in combat, to villains, to enemies, to creatures. If you leave a bear alone, it shouldn't run up and attack you. Not everything should be trying to attack you. Okay? And this is where I'm going to say take an idea away from one of my personal favorite games, Breath of the Wild. I mean, the AI in that game is relatively sophisticated. Now they get away with this by having a very small enemy variety, but you get the idea. Enemies should be smarter. The amount of actions you can do in the environment should be more, how should I put this? More varied, and that's it. Please rate, comment, share, and subscribe, and all that jazz, and good day.
I'm a one-track lover, down a two-way lane, driving fast down the highway, must have been insane, 'cause the temperature's too high, traveling way too fast, and I knew our loving was too hot to last. She's smooth, like ice, cold to the touch, and it isn't very nice when you left alone. Your lady treats you bad, leaves you hanging on the phone. Take off, shove your loving in the wheels, put the pedal to the floor, 'cause you're heading for the hills. Got to get away, can't take it no more. Man, you don't need this, leave her at the door.
He's a one-track lover, down a two-way lane, much too hot to last.
Well, I'm a man who makes love. Now he's knocking at the front. On a hot summer night. Now he's knocking at the back. In a town called love. Now he's knocking at both doors. Well, alright. She got her hands on my body work. She slammed me into fifth gear. Now she's sucking on my tailpipe. Too late, this cat's out of here. 'Cause I'm a one-track love.